We've annealed now, so they're soft-ish, and we're gonna cold forge them. So I always cold forge before profiling, because when you cold forge you can have some distortion in the profile, because they can stretch and bend and whatever. So I do that before I profile them, and just to get the nice finish on them. And also to scale them, because you remove a lot of scale when you... After that we're gonna profile them using templates and the grinder, and then we're gonna heat treat them. I'm gonna put these here, don't touch these. I'm gonna kick up the oven again, so we have a heat treatment temperature, or hardening temperature. I really need these to cool down a little bit. So what I usually do is just try to brush out some scale. If that doesn't work, it usually doesn't work that good on this steel. Because this steel's scale, for some reason, is very, very sticky. We just try and loosen it by hitting it. Okay. Okay. So we take the bunker first. I usually roll over with my beautiful chair. Since you have all these tapers, you have a taper from here, you have a taper here, and a gradual taper also from here to here. And this is a pretty flat. It actually hits a little bit harder on this side. I need to be aware so I don't hit it just straight out like this, because then it's just gonna bend. You get me? I'm just straightening out the tang a little bit. So this, in this case, I'm actually moving material, but it's very, very little. And you can actually feel this now. I don't know if you want to feel it, but it's very smooth now. It's very smooth. I think the term cold forging is maybe not suitable for what I do. It's more like planishing, I would say. You can always start the straightening process a little bit now, because cold forging can distort the blade quite a lot, if you see this one. So I can just make sure that it's not as crooked, because I need to straighten that by hand later on. So I just start that now. And that's it. Now we take template. Just put it on the blade. This is like a few millimeters too low, but it doesn't matter. And also, when I do this, when I forge down the tanks like this, pretty aggressively on the press, there's quite a lot of, like, there can be tearing and stuff here in this junction. So I always make sure to place the choil neck area thing in front of that. It's just, that's something I need to do because of my process. So just pretend you're at kindergarten and play around. So rough template. These bread sorts I don't have a template for because they all have different curves and stuff. But what I usually do is use a tang from another blade and just make sure I get the tang part right, okay? And the blade I just freehand shape. Now I have everything I need for the bread sword shape. We profile it on the grinder. After we profile it, we straighten it again because sometimes they get a little wonky in the annealing process and the normalizing process. They get bent a little bit. After we have straightened it, we heat treat it by doing the hardening process. So we heat it up to a specific temperature, hold it there for a specific time, and quench it in a desired quenching media. Okay, so heat treatment. Or hardening, I should say. Pretty straightforward. Put them into the oven at the target temperature that you're aiming for. And just let the heat do its thing. And wait, we heat up the oil as well. Very high tech, but it actually works pretty good. Those are supposed to ignite your barbecue, but this one I don't think it goes above like 150, 200 Celsius or something. So, but it works perfect in this application because it doesn't overheat my oil. And as you can see, the temperature dropped quite a lot when we put the blades in. So we put in 2 pieces of metal that are like 20 degrees Celsius. So they soak up all the energy. And also when you open the oven, of course. And this should be in the oven for 10 minutes. So hot oil, we take out one of the blades. So these bread swords are a bit annoying because they're so long. I usually can't fit them all in the tub. The tang usually sticks out, and that's what makes all this smoke. I can use this tub, of course, but yeah, I didn't. Check for straightness. You can actually straighten it a little bit right now. It's good. Take the other one. Yeah, that's all straight. So we just leave them here for a while until they reach room temperature, and then we temper them. So the next step is, well, as I mentioned, we're gonna make sure they reach room temperature. You can quench them in water now if you want to, just to speed it up. You can actually have some warping by doing that. And then we're gonna put them in the oven, the temper oven, and temper them to remove the brittleness of the steel. Lower the hardness by 1 or 2 Rockwells, but give it a lot of toughness. And this steel is very, very tough by itself. So we're actually doing it, we're treating it like it wants to be treated, more or less. It's gonna be a tough and hard blade. And after we do that, we will rough grind them, we will polish them, and we will put handles on them. Easy. So now we've tempered the blades, we need to grind the blades. Because I didn't do any rough grinding or anything before heat treatment or before hardening. So we need to rough grind them, polish them, and put serrations on the bread knife. But I do that at the very last step. So a pretty worn belt, just to start like removing the decarb from the edge, because you need to remove the decarb from the edge, and you kill the belts otherwise. And also like kill the rough corners or the 45-degree, 90-degree angles. Just remove them, and then you can put on a fresh belt. So when rough grinding a knife, especially if you have a forged taper, it can be a bit challenging, especially if you have a very thin tip, because the blade is a little bit flexible. So, for instance, I use a jig from Oliver Tobin, who I use his grinder as well. But he has an awesome grinding jig where you actually normally I use push stick for all my grinding, but he has a jig where like you have a lever sort of, and I do that with all my 40 grits, because then you'll have like very straight initial bevels, and after you've done that, after I do that, I do the push stick and like fine tune it to whatever dimensions I want. But it's very nice tool to use for rough grinding, because it's so hard to mess up. So especially when doing batches, of course, it's everything that you can do to decrease the chances of human error is of course a positive thing. After we rough grind the bevels, we will start the polishing process. So I always use 40 grit as my rough grinding belt. After that, I remove all the 40 grits with 60, and after the 60, it starts to become a polishing process, removing the scratches one step at a time with finer grits. And when you do freehand grinding or even push stick grinding, you can slip, you can put down the blade at a different angle and have a facet. It's like it's quite easy to mess up, even if you've done it a lot of times. So just eliminate the areas where you can do mistakes as much as possible. I would say so the jig is like, it really changed my process, and my process was pretty set already previously, but this jig actually made me change my process. It's the first time I've changed my process in quite some time, because I've been so familiar with my process and so happy with it, but this made me change the process a little bit. So just have an open mind and look at other people, what they do, and find ideas and tips. Maybe not do it exactly as they do, but find how to apply their methods in your work, which I think is a very big thing. And I also changed my process a little bit, so I was lying when I said I didn't change my process. But I changed it a little bit as well when I came back from Austria, visiting Tobias, because he had some ways of doing some steps that were very reasonable and very smart. He's a smart guy. So I took inspiration from that and applied it to my process. So he would probably not even recognize it as taken from him, but it's like inspired by his process, applied to my process, making it my own. So yeah, I think you should always have an open mind and thank the people that you get help from as well. And after we have polished it to a satisfactory finish, we put on the handle, and then it's done. So we have the bank and the soon-to-be bread knife, and we're gonna burn in the handles. This is gonna look pretty good. You just need to burn it a little bit. Might be, that's gonna look good. And then we have this one for the banca. Okay. So this is like a burn, you burn in the tang. What I'm doing, I'm heating it up. And after heating it up, I make sure to burn away the dowel in here. It's gonna smoke a lot. Okay, and then we have the red sword. Like so, maybe. Like so. This is a really schwungy bread knife. I actually like it. Okay, so it won't sit here by itself, so we need to glue it. And we use, sometimes I use epoxy, sometimes I use construction glue. This time I'm going to use epoxy, just 5-minute epoxy, because it's all it's needed really. So I just mark the upside of the handle, so I know which one is up. And then you look at the tang, is it decent enough? Sure. And then you have some alcohol. So we have 6.4 grams of the hardener. Now we're gonna use 6.5 grams of the base. So up to 13. Yeah, good enough. And then we're gonna have some alcohol in it, just to make sure it's a little bit more runny. You can use acetone or alcohol. And epoxy should always be mixed like 30 seconds at least. If you use 24-hour epoxy, I like sit there and mix it for a couple of minutes. And since I diluted it with alcohol, it's very runny, as you can see here. Without having to heat it up, because if you heat it up, you actually increase the burn time on it, or decrease it rather. So it's gonna set much quicker. It sets quicker when it's hot. And then you make sure you don't have epoxy all over your hands. Take the blade, just ram it in there, push it against me. Wipe away all the crap. And just leave it to set. Next blade, same story. Ram it in there. So, and then you don't touch it for 5 minutes, and it's done. So what we're doing now, we've ground the bevels. We have done the finish on the blades. We have attached the handle to the blades. And now we're gonna do the serrations on this bread knife, because a bread knife can't cut bread without serrations. So, and one easy way to know which way to do the serrations, because you only do it on one side, you don't do it on two sides, that's wrong, is to, if you're right-handed, you should have the serrations on the right side as well. Small wheel attachment for my grinder. It has a, I think it's a 15 or 20 mil wheel, just and a 180 grit belt, and I just carefully, slowly grind in small indentations into the edge. Easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Massive thank you to all our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the content that we do, and if you find value in the content we create, you can support our channel at patreon.com/UKBladeShow, or links are in the description below. Thanks for watching. I hope that video was interesting and inspiring for you. We made another bunker with another knife maker, but this time using an induction forge. Check out this video over here. Cheers guys, and see you in the next one.